Yo, 2023 is ending and it's time for another keyboard rewind. As usual, before we start, let's talk about the daily driver that I'm rocking. I did have a change in my daily drivers once in a while, but I still went back to my Glacier 80. The Glacier 80 is just one of my favorites. The sound signature, the keycaps, the entire aesthetic to it just I feel like really fits my setup and I really like it. So anyway, for the first video of 2023, we reviewed the Heracles 80. This keyboard actually took a spot off my daily driver for a solid 2 to 3 months. But after a while, I felt like it took up too much space. It was really too chunky. I didn't really have much space to use my mouse. But this keyboard with the Chara Klein blue switches, it was absolutely heavenly. It sounded majestic. It is one of my top few keyboards of 2023. Based off sound signature itself, it is one of my favorites. Afterwards, I did a budget guide for beginners, which honestly did pretty well, and I will be doing one more. And I usually do it at the beginning of the year because I'll be able to recap whatever has been released or what was launched and go through everything that was out in 2023 so that I can recommend something that, you know, is the best for its time. We move on to February. I reviewed 3 keyboards, the A6.5, Angry Mel Compact Touch, and the Duo M. There's not much to talk about the A6.5, it was very basic, it was a little bit underwhelming just with a little nice customization. The Compact Touch, however, was my first Angry Mel keyboard and it was my first experience working with Angry Mel and taking a look at their workmanship and the mounting styles. It was really interesting. The last board in February was the Duo M. It was a spring-mounted keyboard, which we don't really see nowadays because it didn't really work out, I think. But that keyboard was really clean, the sound signature was really good. So yeah, February was a pretty mid-month, we didn't do anything crazy, but in March, I reviewed the K75. The K75 used to be a $35 keyboard kit. It was the first 65% budget keyboard kit with the knob, the one that replicates the Zoom 65 really well. It was made out of plastic, but at that time in March, we didn't really have access or there weren't the releases of really budget aluminum keyboards. So it was really good at the time and I honestly would still recommend it to people who have access to it. Next up is Tofu 2.0. I'm honestly still very impressed with Tofu 2.0 considering it was a tray-mounted keyboard. The Tofu series was always a tray-mounted keyboard and the Tofu was actually one of the biggest staples in the old keyboard scene. But now the Tofu 2.0 actually has a bunch of different mounting styles and is for sure one of the best basic keyboards with a very versatile base. This year I also tried to start a new series which is like 5 cool tech under $50. But unfortunately it didn't really work out, which was kind of sad because I really do enjoy and it's kind of my hobby to like just find random tech products I find online. But yeah, I think I made like 2 or 3 of them. I had a ton of fun in those. If you haven't checked it out, you can check it out. It's pretty cool. We move on to May. Monster released the M series and this is one of the more notable releases in 2023. The M series was priced around $80 to $100 and had all the features that people were looking for. And also in May, we also had the Zoom 75. The Zoom 75 is honestly a solid number 3 on my list for the top few keyboards of this year. The features, the aesthetics and sound profile were right up my alley. I actually did rock the Zoom 75 for like 2 to 3 months, but while I was changing out switches, I somehow broke the LCD screen or the OLED screen and I was depressed. I didn't use it anymore. Moving along to June, I did a setup tour. I really love doing setup tours. I'll probably do one every single year, even though, you know, it's just fun, you know, it's something different. And for some reason, in the month of June, there were a ton of releases for pre-assembled keyboards. There was this sudden surge or this sudden rise in demand and supply for pre-assembled keyboards. So the first pre-assembled keyboard I actually reviewed was the VMO C Melody. VMO is a brand that I have always looked up to because before I joined the hobby, the first keyboard I actually tried at a store was a VMO C Melody and it was my first time experiencing smooth switches, loop switches, loop stabilizers, and VMO was like the one that I wanted to get. The VMO C Melody is one of the staple pre-assembled keyboards if you are just entering the keyboard scene. You don't really want to dive right in, build a keyboard. VMO is a really good brand, to be honest. In the month of June, I also tried my first ever gummy O-ring mounted keyboard. This was the Sarak 65. Gummy O-ring mount is pretty old school vibe. We don't really see it nowadays because there are many better mounting styles, I would say, but the gummy O-ring mount is definitely very interesting. Not exactly my preference, but I do see why it would attract people because of how easy you can customize your keyboard. So following the pre-assembled keyboards, I actually got my hands on the Lumin Ke75, which is actually my #1 pre-built keyboard for 2023. Everything they provide, the sound signature right out of the box, you know, it was just mind-blowing. Definitely a really good board, really good quality, really good workmanship, the sound signature, you know, the feel of the keyboard, the switches, everything was... it hit the right spot. The next one, INF75, an insanely premium detailed keyboard. It was insane. And as much as the keyboard's really cool, it is also really expensive. So I can understand why there isn't exactly the really high demand for it. It has its target audience, right? But now comes my top #1 keyboard of 2023. The TKD Cycle 7. It's an absolute beauty of a board. The PVD weight, the mounting style, the screwless design, the sound signature. It was the perfect board. I really liked the board. I really loved the board. Everything about it just was perfect, except for one thing, the layout. I ran it, I was so happy with it. I used it as my daily driver for a while, but not having a function row is something I cannot really live with because I do use my function row a lot. But aside from the layout bias, this is honestly the best keyboard of 2023, the TKD Cycle 7. I really hope they release a TKL soon. Afterwards, I got to try Sarak Key Ceramic keycaps. This was like the R2 of the Sarak Key Ceramic keycaps. They are extremely fun to play with. They are able to make any keyboard talk. It's basically like a life hack. It's like basically cheating to get talk with ceramic keycaps, but also definitely really pricey, so I understand. Now catching up to the recent videos, we have the AFA R2, the Mode Tempo, and the Diamond 75. Pretty pricey keyboards, but they have their reputable brands to back them up. The Mode Tempo was actually a really good one. It was the first time I actually tried a Mode keyboard. One thing about Mode that I really respect is that they have their branding down. They always have a ton of customization, they have a really nice website, they have this certain aesthetic, and they have very solid packaging at the same time. All these makes Mode. You know, when I tell you all these, you might think of Mode if you have heard of them. But sadly, the Mode Tempo was a HHKB, which is, I cannot rock that. Impossible for me to use that. But I did enjoy the sound signature and the feel of it. And trying out the lattice structure mounting system, pretty cool. And then we had a keyboard showdown, but this time around it was just between me and Squashy. Razer actually got us to do a keyboard showdown for their latest release of the 75% custom Razer keyboard. I did take a pretty big L, but it was a really fun experience being able to visit the Razer HQ. You know, Razer releasing a custom keyboard is something that we would never expect, and that was just a really fun experience. You should check that video out. Now we're back to the budget keyboards and we're starting off with the high 75. It was $35. I'm not sure if the price increased since then because of all the comments I've been getting, but it is a 75% aluminum keyboard with a knob. This was the first aluminum keyboard that I discovered at this price range before I found the Sugar 65. And for this price range, the sound signature and the quality it produces is really good. It's a solid 9 out of 10 from me. It's probably #2 on the list for the keyboards of this year. The next video is actually one of my favorite videos. It is actually a Fiverr video and I actually hired a stranger to build me a mystery custom keyboard with no budget whatsoever. No preference, no budget. And the keyboard was amazing. You guys should check it out. The mystery custom keyboard guy was an absolute Chad. He's a lad. He's crazy. That video is probably like #1 of 2023 for me. Even though the views aren't that high, but it's one of my favorite videos of 2023. Now we're down to our last 4 recent keyboards that I have reviewed. The Cyberboard. Crazy expensive, but I had to try it. But the last 3 keyboards I've reviewed, 3 straight bangers back to back, not in terms of views but in terms of keyboard. In my opinion, 3 straight bangers. INF75, Echo Gaming Keyboard, and Sugar 65. These 3 keyboards are absolutely crazy. The INF75 is a $99 custom keyboard, budget keyboard, but it had a customizable OLED screen, which is like OLED screen, $99, that's crazy. And then the Echo Mod 007 BHE, yeah, that's what it's called. Echo released their first magnetic switches, the Echo Magnetic Yellow switches. And these magnetic switches are basically the future of the gaming scene. Everyone is looking out for magnetic switches and the Hall effect. With these switches, you can basically change your actuation point and have dynamic keystrokes. If you don't know what those are, do check out the video. And finally, the Sugar 65. Absolute beauty, it is $30. A $30 keyboard kit. I don't know how much is it in the US, but in Singapore, I guarantee you it's $30. Singaporeans back me up here because I know I've been getting a little bit of hate for doing clickbait, but trust me, it's $30 in Singapore. So yeah, the 3 recent keyboards I reviewed, I honestly really enjoyed. It was something new, something refreshing. If you're interested, do check it out. Next up is switches. What are my top 5 switches of 2023? Coming in at number 5 is the Aphelion Sky Blue switches. The Sky Blue switches really help with hollow keyboards. The keyboards that sound a little bit hollow, sound a little bit too muted. The Aphelion Sky Blue switches was something that I used a lot to help boost that sound. You know, I don't really enjoy like really quiet keyboards, so the Sky Blue switches really helped me with those, and I really enjoyed them. Coming in at number 4 is the Mode Obscura switches. The Mode Obscura switches are extremely responsive. It feels super addictive to type on. The spring they're using, or maybe it's the pole and the stem, but the Mode Obscura is literally just, it makes you want to type so fast and so much more. The sound signature does lean towards the clackier side, but I really enjoy using those switches. Coming in at number 3 is the Chara Klein Blue switches. These switches do have a fatal flaw in them, but they are one of the smoothest switches that I have used. They produce a very unique sound signature that I can't really describe. You do have to listen to it, but the Chara Klein Blue switches in their stock configuration sound really good and feel really smooth. But they have a really short pole, which doesn't really help if you have a north-facing keyboard. You will definitely face interference, so you will need a south-facing keyboard. Coming in at number 2 is the TTC Venus and Saturn switches. These 2 switches are even crazier. These switches feel looped even though they are in their stock configuration, and they aren't muted whatsoever. They produce a really balanced sound signature that I think most people would enjoy, which I really like. Last but not least, our number 1 switch is the Vertex V1s. These are the best switches of 2023. I have 3 main reasons for this. Number 1 is that it is very reasonably priced and you can get them in any vendor. I believe many vendors carry these Vertex V1 switches. Number 2 is how they sound. They sound absolutely amazing if you're trying to go towards the thockier side of the sound spectrum. Number 3, they actually sell pre-looped switches, and the pre-loop switches sound amazing and feel amazing, and that is why the Vertex V1 is my number 1 switch of 2023. So yeah, that is basically 2023. I wouldn't say I am exactly very satisfied compared to 2022. I definitely felt like I had to do more budget keyboard videos because this year I did a lot of premium or like not budget keyboard video review. And considering you guys watch my videos because I live in Singapore and you guys can find out or know more about budget keyboards at a really insane price, I should focus more on budget keyboards. So yeah, I'll try to balance it out in 2024. I'll do more budget keyboards in 2024, but still keep that balance of new keyboard releases in 2024. Anyway, as I'm filming this, I have 75,000 subscribers. Huge shout out to all of you who are subscribed. I can't wait for the journey ahead in 2024. Thank you so much for sticking around, especially those of you who have been around for 3 years, I believe. That is crazy long. 2024 might be the year I hit the 100k milestone and I'll go crazy. It'll be insane. But yeah, hopefully we can hit 100k in 2024. I hope you guys had an amazing year in 2023 and I wish you all the best in 2024. Bye.